recall. Nissan recalling 480,000 vehicles because the engines can lose power while in use. Welcome back to CBS News Detroit at noon. Let's take a look at today's Money Watch, starting with a few recall alerts. Before you hit the road this July 4th, a big car recall. Nissan recalling 480,000 vehicles.
Nissan is spiraling. Hundreds of thousands of cars recalled without warning. One of the boldest engine designs in modern history is collapsing from the inside. This isn't just a recall. It might be the beginning of the end. Stick around. Today we'll discuss the engine flaw that made this recall necessary, and the future for Nissan, if there's one that is.
Nissan is recalling more than 440,000 vehicles over an engine issue. The automaker says engine bearings may have defects that could lead to engine failure, raising the risk of a crash.
Picture this. You're driving your Nissan Rogue on a quiet Sunday morning. The road is smooth, the engine runs softly under the hood, and everything feels right. You're proud of your car, after all. It's got Nissan's state-of-the-art VC turbo engine, a technological innovation the company once hailed as revolutionary. But then, something shifts, and the engine stalls. The warning lights come alive, and within moments, you're forced to pull off to the side of the road, and now your dream car just turned into a mechanical nightmare. You're not alone. This is exactly what hundreds of thousands of drivers are facing right now, as Nissan scrambles to contain one of its largest and most damaging recalls in recent history. Over 480,000 vehicles across the US and Canada are being recalled, each equipped with the same VC turbo engine that was once marketed as the future of fuel efficiency and power. To be more specific, this is affecting over 443,899 vehicles in the US alone, plus more than 37,800 in Canada. And now, this revolutionary engine, it's now under fire for a serious flaw that could lead to catastrophic failure.
It affects the Rogue, Altima, and Infiniti compact SUV models from years 2019.
The models involved aren't unknown either. Nissan has confirmed that the recall includes the 2019 and 2020 Altima, the 2021 through 2024 Rogue, and even Infiniti's luxury models, the QX50 from 2019 to 2022, and the 2022 QX55. All of them are running on either a 1.5-liter or 2-liter variable compression turbo engine, and all of them are at risk. At the heart of the problem lies in the engine's internal components, more specifically the bearings and multi-link mechanisms. Defects in manufacturing are causing these parts to wear out too quickly, producing metal shavings that circulate through the engine, and the result? Loud knocking, poor performance, and in many cases engine seizure. Some drivers have reported sudden breakdowns without any warning, no noise or warning lights, just silence and the smell of burnt oil. The most alarming part? The Nissan Rogue is at the center of this disaster, with nearly 350,000 units affected in the US alone. That's not a small number of faulty engines. So what is Nissan doing about it? According to documents filed with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, dealers have been instructed to inspect the oil pan for signs of metal debris. If they find any, the entire engine gets replaced, free of charge. If they don't, the response depends on which engine you have. For those with the 1.5-liter variant, dealerships will swap out the oil, replace the oil pan gasket, and reprogram the ECU. For the 2-liter version, they'll just change the oil and send you on your way. Nissan is also offering to extend the engine warranty on some of these vehicles to 10 years or 120,000 miles, a move clearly aimed at damage control. But a longer warranty isn't much comfort when your engine threatens to die on the freeway. People are furious. Online forums and social media threads are full of stories about the breakdowns. On Reddit, one user laid it out bluntly, saving you a click. The 25-volt 437 recall includes the 2021 to 2024 Rogue, 2019 to 2020 Altima, 2019 to 2022 Infiniti QX50, and 2022 Infiniti QX55. If you own one, buckle up, and they're not wrong. This isn't just about engine recall, it's about the future of one of the most recognized automakers in the world.
Owners of those impacted models will be alerted by mail to take their vehicles to a dealership for free repair.
Nissan has already started notifying dealerships as of July 15th, 2025. But if you're a driver waiting for answers, don't hold your breath. The recall letters won't reach your mailboxes until around August 25th. That means a full month of uncertainty for drivers who may be sitting on a ticking time bomb. Reputable sources from Reuters to CBS News and Automotive Dive have all confirmed the scale of this disaster. The message is clear. This isn't just a mechanical issue, it's a brand crisis and a reputation collapse. And if Nissan doesn't handle this with absolute transparency and urgency, it could spiral into something even worse. A few years ago, the VC Turbo was supposed to set Nissan apart. Today, it might just bring them to their knees.
Despite issuing a troubling earnings forecast, the Japanese automaker now expects an annual net loss of about $5 billion as that's nearly 10 times its.
Nissan's crisis is a dramatic reversal of the far healthier results seen at the end of the company's 2023 fiscal year. It has cut production, jobs, and executive salaries.
Let's be honest, an engine recall of this size doesn't just dent your reputation, it shakes the entire foundation of your business. And for Nissan, the cracks are showing. According to recent US quarterly sales reports released in July 2025, Nissan's vehicle sales dropped by 6.5% in Q2, falling to just 221,441 units. That may not sound catastrophic at first glance, but when your best-selling model, the Rogue, is at the center of a high-profile engine failure scandal, every lost sale carries the weight of 1,000 headlines. Consumers are nervous, dealerships are stalling, and trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. The direct financial hit from the recall is still unfolding. Early estimates suggested costs between $50 million and $200 million, but insiders now project the true damage could approach $500 million when you factor in engine replacements, warranty extensions, labor costs, legal exposure, and a nosedive in brand perception. And that's just in North America. Behind closed doors, Nissan is planning. The company reported a shocking 200 billion yang operating loss, which translates to roughly $1.56 billion for the second quarter of 2025. But the real gut punch came earlier this year when it closed fiscal 2024 with a devastating net loss of 670.9 billion yang, or about $4.5 billion. In response, Nissan announced plans to cut 20,000 jobs globally, citing factory closures across Japan, the UK, and Southeast Asia. Production slowdowns in China and weak EV adoption in Europe are only making the climb steeper.
It's electric vehicles that were pioneers, got old, and were not competitive enough, and then the Chinese arrive and change everything.
And while the recall has taken center stage, it isn't the only cloud over Nissan's head. US tariffs on Japanese imports have begun biting into margins again, and hybrid competitors from Toyota and Honda are eating into Nissan's market share, especially in segments where reliability is king. Meanwhile, EV rivals like Tesla, BYD, and Hyundai are pushing past Nissan in tech, design, and consumer confidence. So how are investors reacting? Strangely, Nissan's stock price bounced up 5.9% in early July after the recall announcement. A short-lived sigh of relief perhaps that the company was being transparent and taking action. But market analysts are warning that this might just be the calm before another financial storm. If warranty claims rise or class action lawsuits pile in, as many expect, the cost could increase fast. In a recent press appearance, Nissan's chief operating officer Ivan Espinosa tried to downplay the recall's impact, saying our commitment to long-term product confidence and customer satisfaction. But the numbers are telling a different story. US sales in Q1 2025 were already down 8%, and in consumer surveys, a growing percentage of shoppers, nearly 70% of Nissan buyers, now list recall history and engine reliability as top concerns. It's not just about this one recall, it's about a pattern, a slow death of consumer faith now brought to a climax. What was supposed to be Nissan's big innovation, the VC turbo engine, has backfired into a brand-wide liability. And here's the scary part. With tightening emissions rules, rising production costs, and brutal global competition, Nissan doesn't have a lot of room left to slip. If the financial ruin doesn't end soon, and if the trust of drivers and shareholders continues to deteriorate, we may be looking at a company on the verge of a much deeper collapse. This recall isn't just hurting cars, it's hurting people, and Nissan employees are feeling the heat. After posting one of its worst financial losses in years, Nissan has announced plans to cut up to 20,000 jobs worldwide. That's not a typo, 20,000. From factory workers in Japan to office teams in the UK and Southeast Asia, no one's safe. The company is closing plants, freezing hiring, and slashing costs wherever it can. But let's not pretend this is just about the global economy or changing car trends. This recall, this engine disaster is right in the middle of it all, when a company has to spend hundreds of millions replacing engines, fixing cars, and extending warranties. That money has to come from somewhere, and right now it's coming from payroll. Think about it, the VC turbo engine was supposed to be the future. Nissan gave years of research, millions in development, and its brand reputation into this engine. Now, instead of leading the pack, they're cutting jobs and writing apology letters, not just to customers, but to the very workers who helped build these cars in the first place. There's a real cost of failure, not just in dollars, but in livelihoods, in the trust that people both inside and outside the company put in a brand that once stood for innovation and reliability. That's what's slipping away. So when Nissan says it's doing everything it can to fix the problem, you have to ask, at what cost? And who's really paying the price?
Our next story is about the fall of an icon, the automaker Nissan. It used to be everywhere at one point, in the Fast and Furious movies, in console games, and in magazines and toy sets. But now Nissan is on life support.
At Nissan, we are redefining the very concept of the car. We are pioneers, daring to do what others don't, leading the way for mass-market electric mobility, creating safe yet exciting driving technology.
Here's one thing that might surprise you. The 2025 models are not part of the recall. Now, is that because Nissan has corrected the problem, or because they can't afford to let this recall drag down current sales? Maybe it's both. What we do know is that the 2025 lineup uses updated engines, whether it's a reworked VC turbo or a quiet shift away from the technology entirely. Nissan hasn't said much, but one thing's clear, they're doing everything they can to protect what little momentum they have left. Because if buyers start backing away from 2025 models too, then this recall won't just hurt the past, it'll wreck the future. This recall might go down as one of the biggest turning points in the company's history, one that could either lead to a dramatic comeback or mark the beginning of the end. But right now, things are not looking good. Nissan is facing billions in losses, and it's not just because of declining sales. The cost of this recall, which includes engine inspections, replacements, extended warranties, and legal risks. Experts say the fallout could hit $500 million, and that's just the financial side. The real damage? It's happening where numbers can't measure, in trust and brand loyalty, in the reputation Nissan spent decades building. Meanwhile, the rest of the auto industry is surging forward. Toyota is winning over hybrid buyers, Tesla keeps dominating the EV market, and upstarts like BYD and Hyundai are dropping new models left and right, faster, cleaner, smarter. Nissan, they're still stuck dealing with engines that shouldn't be failing in the first place. They say they're rebuilding, that they're moving toward an all-electric future, that they've learned their lesson, and maybe they have. But the question is, do drivers still care? When a company loses your trust, it doesn't just lose your business, it loses your belief, and that's much harder to buy back. Nissan can still make it. There's a path out, but it'll take more than press statements and damage control. We are talking about a clean restart, new leadership and engineering, and a lot of transparency, because right now, this isn't about innovation anymore. It's about survival. We're watching history unfold. Nissan was once a powerhouse. Now it's fighting for relevance. Whether it wins or fades away, that story's still being written. But one thing remains clear. The road ahead is steep, uncertain, and filled with broken engines. Nissan says it's moving forward, but the question isn't what they do next. It's whether the world will still be watching when they do, because in the auto world, you're only as good as your last engine. So what are your thoughts? Do you think Nissan will recover?